Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is the paper I use for my cast building. Today's motion is this House would prioritize preserving cultural traditions even at the cost of slowing social progress. But before we move further, I would like to begin by clarifying 3 important points so we better understand this motion. First, what actually counts as slow social progress? In here, what I mean by slow social progress is when individual freedom becomes limited due to the tradition. Also, slow modernization. But we have to remember, we have to understand that slower modernization is not a something that we should be regret of. It's But in here, by preserving cultural tradition, it preserves collective responsibility and cultural continuity rather than encouraging extreme individualism. It's a form of protection to our generation from destructive modernization. Because destructive modernization introduced individualism and globalized values so aggressively that border society would slowly lose the social bonds and collective identities that once held them. This debate purpose is asking whether we should continue preserving cultural tradition like by protecting rumah adat system, elder-led community decision-making, and the mandatory decision-making or not. The thesis here is clear that traditional communal systems like rumah adat preserve social cohesion, cultural identity, and intergenerational continuity that rapid modernization often erodes. So in here, I'm Rosanna strongly agree of this motion. Let's move to my first argument. My first argument is that communities or border society need cultural continuity and collective identity in order to remain socially stable and meaningful. Proposition believes society don't survive merely through economic development or rapid modernization alone. Communities also require shared identity, cultural continuity, and a sense of belonging in order to remain socially meaningful. What we mean by this is simple. Human beings naturally seek emotional attachment toward their history, traditions, and collective identity because these things give individuals a sense of place and purpose within society. But the problem with rapid modernization is that it often weakens these communal foundations. Younger generations become increasingly disconnected from their cultural heritage, and communities gradually lost their shared values and intergenerational bonds that once tied them. As a result, societies may become materially modernized by simultaneously becoming socially fragmented and culturally rootless. The rumah adat system prevents this destruction by preserving communal traditions, collective participation, and intergenerational relationships. Mandatory cultural apprenticeships ensures that younger generation remain connected to their heritage, while elder-led decision-making preserve historical memory and social continuity within the community. Therefore, proposition believe preserving this system is not merely about protecting old customs, but also about protecting the social meaning and collective identity that hold communities together in the first place. Let's move to my second argument that collective systems protect communities from exploitative modernization. Here, what I mean by exploitative modernization is referring to a modernization that exploiting locals. And here, exploiting locals for economical purpose or power only. In the status quo, rapid economic development and modernization are often treated as inherently positive without acknowledging that unequal consequences these processes create for traditional and indigenous communities. It usually happens because communal systems slowly become replaced by market-oriented and highly individual structure. And these benefits of modernization are often focused among corporations, investors, and external economic sectors, not to the local that got exploited. And because of this, the local becomes significantly more vulnerable to land exploitation, displacement, and loss of autonomy over their own resources. And these things create a problem. This thing is dangerous because rumah adat not merely as simple as a cultural, but as a social protection mechanism that preserve communal responsibility and collective ownership. Proposition therefore believe that not all modernization should automatically be treated as a beneficial social progress. A society may become more economically modern but culturally hollow. This could forming new issues like the disappearance of local language or traditions only survive as a tourism aesthetics. Ultimately, proposition believe the debate is not simply about choosing tradition over progresses. It is about recognizing that communities cannot survive on modernization alone if the very cultural foundation that give people identity, belonging, and social cohesion are gradually erased in the process. The rumah adat system is not merely a collection of outdated customs, but a living communal structure that preserves intergenerational continuity and protects communities from exploitative modernization, and ensures that younger generations remain connected to their cultural heritage and collective responsibility. Opposition treats a social progress as inherently valuable regardless of the social and cultural consequences it creates. However, proposition tells you that progress becomes dangerous when it comes at the cost of cultural extinction, communal fragmentation, and the loss of meaningful social identity. Because a society that becomes materially modern while culturally rootless ultimately risks losing the very sense of community and continuity that holds people together. in the first place holds together in the first place. So in here, that's why I'm Rosanna Prayoga, proud to propose this motion. Thank you very much.